In the cold autumn of 1805, off the coast of Spain near Cape Trafalgar, two great naval fleets met in a battle that would change the course of history forever. The British Royal Navy, under the command of Admiral Horatio Nelson, faced the combined forces of France and Spain. This clash was not just a fight for control of the seas, it was a battle that decided the fate of empires, the future of Europe, and the rise of Britain as the world's dominant naval power. How did a single naval battle create ripples that shaped centuries to come? What were the strategies, the heroics, and the sacrifices that made Trafalgar legendary? The Battle of Trafalgar was fought on October 21, 1805, at the height of the Napoleonic Wars. It was a turning point that not only secured British naval supremacy but also prevented Napoleon's plans to invade Britain. As we explore this story, I invite you to think about this question. Could the outcome of the Napoleonic Wars have been different if Trafalgar had been lost? Now, let us set sail on this historic voyage. By the dawn of the 19th century, Europe stood on a precarious edge. Napoleon Bonaparte, having crowned himself Emperor of the French, wielded a power unlike any seen before. His armies swept across the continent with relentless precision, toppling rival states and redrawing borders in a bold quest for dominance. The landscape of Europe was changing rapidly, shaped by the ambition and strategic genius of one man. Cities fell, alliances shifted, and monarchies trembled under the weight of his conquests. Napoleon's vision was clear: to unify Europe under French control and create an empire that would stand unmatched. Yet, amidst his sweeping advances, one obstacle remained formidable. Britain, an island nation surrounded by restless seas, stood resolute against Napoleon's ambitions. Its strength lay not in vast armies on land, but in its powerful Royal Navy, which patrolled the oceans and choked French attempts at maritime expansion. Napoleon understood the necessity of breaking Britain's naval dominance. To invade the island nation, he first needed to command the English Channel, the narrow waterway that separated France from its enduring rival. Control of these waters would open the door to an invasion, a chance to bring Britain to its knees. To achieve this, Napoleon ordered the combined fleets of France and Spain to challenge the British blockade. The two navies were to join forces, break through the Royal Navy's iron grip, and establish supremacy at sea. This plan set the stage for a confrontation that would become one of the most famous naval battles in history. The seas churned with anticipation as these great fleets prepared to clash. Commanders readied their ships, crews sharpened their skills, and nations held their breath. The outcome of this battle would not only determine control of the Channel but also the fate of Europe itself. Tensions ran high on both sides. The British, led by experienced naval officers, knew the stakes were immense. For Napoleon, victory at sea was a critical step toward his broader ambitions. Failure could mean the end of his dreams of conquest across the Channel. As the fleet set sail, the stage was set for a decisive encounter. The clash of steel and cannon fire would echo across the waves, forever altering the course of history. This moment, poised between war and possibility, defined Europe on the brink. This moment, poised between war and possibility, defined Europe on the brink. This moment, poised between war and possibility, defined Europe on the brink. This moment, poised between war and possibility, defined Europe on the brink. The story of these years is one of power, strategy, and the relentless pursuit of dominance. Captures the tension of a continent caught between fear and ambition. Where the outcome depended not just on armies, but on mastery of the seas. This moment, poised between war and possibility, defined Europe on the brink. In this turbulent time, the balance of power was fragile. The world watched as the great players moved their pieces, knowing that the coming battle would shape the destiny of nations. This is the story of a Europe on the brink. A story of courage, conflict, and the looming shadow of one man's quest for empire. Admiral Horatio Nelson stood as one of Britannia's most revered naval heroes by the year 1805. His name had become synonymous with daring and decisive action, a figure whose bold tactics and magnetic leadership inspired unwavering loyalty among those who served under him. Nelson was not just a commander, he was a symbol of courage and innovation in an era defined by relentless conflict at sea. His journey was marked by personal sacrifice and resilience. In earlier battles, Nelson had lost an arm and the sight in one eye, injuries that might have ended the career of a lesser man. Yet, these wounds only seemed to sharpen his resolve. He adapted to his physical limitations with determination, proving that true strength lay not only in body but in mind and spirit. Nelson's understanding of naval warfare was profound. He saw the sea as a dynamic battlefield, where conventional tactics could be overturned by audacity and clever strategy. His ability to innovate, to think beyond the rigid rules of engagement, set him apart from many of his contemporaries. He favored aggressive maneuvers that seized the initiative and kept his enemies off balance. As tensions in Europe escalated, Nelson's leadership became even more vital. In the days leading up to the Battle of Trafalgar, he meticulously prepared his fleet, aware of the immense responsibility resting on his shoulders. The stakes were clear: a control of the seas would determine the fate of nations. Nelson's command style combined personal charisma with tactical genius. He led from the front, sharing the dangers of battle with his crews. This earned him not just respect, but deep admiration, fostering a spirit of unity and fierce determination aboard his ships. The Battle of Trafalgar itself was a culmination of Nelson's naval career. Facing a combined French and Spanish fleet, he devised a plan that broke with tradition. Instead of engaging in parallel lines of battle, Nelson's fleet attacked in two columns, piercing the enemy's formation with precision and speed. This daring tactic sowed confusion among the opposing forces and demonstrated Nelson's willingness to embrace risk for decisive victory. The battle became a turning point, securing British naval dominance for years to come. Tragically, Nelson did not live to see the full aftermath of Trafalgar. He was fatally wounded during the fight, a sacrifice that elevated him to legendary status. His legacy endured far beyond the loss. Nelson's life reflects the qualities that define great leadership: courage, innovation, and an unyielding commitment to duty. He transformed the Royal Navy through his vision and inspired generations of sailors who followed in his wake. The man behind the legend was both a warrior and a strategist. Someone who understood that victory required more than firepower. It demanded inspiration, calculated risk, and an intimate connection with those who carried out his orders. His story is not merely one of battles won or lost, but of a character forged by adversity and defined by an indomitable spirit. Nelson's influence shaped the course of British naval history and left a mark on the wider world. From his early days at sea to the decisive moments at Trafalgar, Nelson's journey is a testament to the power of leadership and the enduring impact of individual resolve. The echoes of his command resonate in the halls of naval tradition and the pages of history, reminding us of a man who stood firm against overwhelming odds. Admiral Horatio Nelson remains a figure of fascination, a hero whose life and legacy continue to captivate those who study the art of warfare and the qualities that create legends. This is the story of a man whose vision and valor shaped an era, whose name became a beacon of British naval greatness, and whose spirit sails on in the memory of a nation. In the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, tension simmered as fleets from three great naval powers prepared for a clash that would echo through history. The French fleet, under the command of Admiral Pierre-Charles Villeneuve, had set sail from the port of Sierre with Tilde d'Is. Alongside them sailed the Spanish fleet, led by Admiral Federico Gravina. Together, these combined forces numbered around 33 ships, poised to confront the British and alter the balance of naval power. Opposing them was a British fleet, smaller in number but formidable in spirit. Under the leadership of Admiral Horatio Nelson, 27 ships of the line stood ready. These vessels were not merely instruments of war, they were the product of rigorous training, discipline, and an unyielding readiness for battle. Each crew member understood the stakes: the security of their nation and the control of the seas. The fleet's approach was slow and deliberate, each maneuver carrying the weight of strategy and anticipation. Every sail that caught the wind, every cannon loaded, brought the moment of confrontation closer. Despite being outnumbered, the British fleet held a quiet confidence. Their advantage lay not in sheer numbers but in cohesion and preparation. Years of experience and the discipline drilled into every sailor made them a force to be reckoned with. Admiral Nelson, renowned for his daring and tactical genius, inspired his men with a vision that transcended the immediate dangers. As the fleets drew nearer, the air grew thick with expectation. The horizon blurred with sails and masts, a vast armada stretching across the waves. Flags fluttered in the wind, signaling commands that would shape the battle to come. The sound of rigging creaking and sailors readying their weapons underscored the gravity of the moment. The gravity of the moment. This was not merely a naval engagement, it was a confrontation that would decide supremacy on the seas for years to come. The combined strength of the French and Spanish fleets challenged British dominance, threatening to shift the tides of power. For the British, the encounter was a test of resolve, skill, and unity. The stage was set for a decisive encounter, one that would demand every ounce of courage and strategy from those who stood upon these ships. The outcome would ripple beyond the ocean, influencing the course of nations and the future of empires. In the calm before the storm, as the sun cast long shadows across the decks, the fleets had assembled. The moment of reckoning was at hand. The dawn of October 21, 1805, broke over the restless waves near Cape Trafalgar, where two great fleets prepared to clash in a battle that would echo through history. The British fleet, commanded by Admiral Horatio Nelson, approached the combined forces of France and Spain. The sea was thick with anticipation, the salty air heavy with the promise of conflict. Nelson, known for his boldness and tactical brilliance, chose a course that defied naval convention. Rather than forming the traditional parallel lines of battle, his fleet divided into two columns. With determination, these columns sailed straight into the Anemia-S line, cutting through like wedges. This unexpected move aimed to shatter the Anemia-S formation, sowing confusion and chaos among their ranks. As the British ships closed the distance, the first cannon fire erupted. Thunderous volleys shattered the morning calm, smoke billowing into the sky as iron met wood and sail. The sea was transformed into a fierce arena where ships fought in deadly embrace, their crews locked in a brutal struggle for supremacy. British vessels surged forward, weaving between enemy ships, firing broadsides at close range. The roar of cannons and the cries of sailors filled the air, creating a cacophony of war. The waves carried the echoes of conflict far and wide. Nelson's tactic proved effective, breaking the Anemia-S line and preventing them from coordinating their defense. Chaos spread among the French and Spanish fleets as ships found themselves isolated and vulnerable. British sailors pressed the advantage, boarding enemy vessels and engaging in hand-to-hand combat when necessary. Despite the fierce resistance, the British maintained their momentum. The battle raged for hours, each ship a battleground in its own right. The sea churned with the movement of vessels, some badly damaged, others maneuvering for position. Fires broke out aboard several ships, their flames flickering against the smoke-filled sky. Throughout the conflict, the determination and skill of the British fleet were evident. As the day wore on, the tide of battle turned decisively in Britannia's favor. Many enemy ships were captured or destroyed, their crews overwhelmed by the coordinated British assault. The fleet that had once threatened invasion was now in disarray, struggling to regroup amid the carnage. Yet the victory came at a cost. Among the triumph, Admiral Nelson was mortally wounded. His leadership had been instrumental, and his loss cast a somber shadow over the Dia's success. Despite this, his strategy had secured a lasting triumph for Britain. The Battle of Trafalgar was a defining moment. It demonstrated the power of innovation, courage, and decisive action in naval warfare. The seas were claimed by Britain, ensuring its dominance and safeguarding the nation from invasion. The story of October 21, 1805, is one of bold tactics and fierce combat, of ships battling amidst smoke and fire under a sky that bore witness to history in the making. It is a tale of resolve and sacrifice, where the fate of empires was forged on the rolling waves. This is a tale of bold tactics and fierce combat, of ships battling amidst smoke and fire under a sky that bore witness to history in the making. A tale of resolve and sacrifice, where the fate of empires was forged on the rolling waves. It is a tale of bold tactics and fierce combat, of ships battling amidst smoke and fire under a sky that bore witness to history in the making. The sea was restless on that fateful day as the British fleet, under the command of Admiral Horatio Nelson, faced the combined forces of France and Spain. The stakes could not have been higher. Britannia's very survival hinged on this confrontation. Against overwhelming odds, Nelson had devised a daring strategy, one that would risk everything but promise decisive results. Rather than following the traditional naval tactics of the time, Nelson ordered his ships to pierce directly through the enemy line. This bold maneuver aimed to disrupt the coherence of the Franco-Spanish fleet, isolating individual vessels and forcing close combat where British skill and discipline could dominate. The tension was palpable as British ships surged forward through heavy cannon fire. Smoke thickened the air and the roar of battle filled the skies. Yet, the well-trained British crews held their nerve. Their drills, their discipline, and their experience came to the fore as they closed in on the enemy. Engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat and relentless cannonades. The battle rages on with no end in sight. Each ship became a fortress, a bastion of British resolve. The crews fought with unmatched tenacity, knowing that victory here would change the course of history. Despite the onslaught of enemy fire, the British ships advanced, their coordinated assault breaking the enemy's line and shattering their formations. The outcome was extraordinary. The British achieved a stunning and resounding victory, capturing or destroying 22 enemy ships. Remarkably, not a single British vessel was lost in the battle. This unparalleled success was a testament to the courage and skill of the sailors and officers alike. Nelson's strategy had turned the tide, establishing British naval superiority for years to come. It was not merely a battle won, but a turning point in the struggle for control of the seas. The victory ensured that Britain could continue to protect its shores, maintain its trade routes, and project power across the globe. The triumph became a symbol of national pride and naval excellence, celebrated and remembered for generations. This story of courage, innovation, and determination on the high seas remains a defining chapter in naval history. It reveals how leadership, strategy, and unwavering resolve can shape the fate of nations. The tide had turned, and Britain's mastery of the seas was assured. The Battle of Trafalgar was a momentous occasion that sealed British naval supremacy for decades to come. Yet, amidst the thunder of cannon fire and the clash of steel, victory demanded a heavy toll. The cost was paid most dearly by one man, Admiral Horatio Nelson, whose life was extinguished during the very triumph that would secure his place in history. As the battle raged on October 21, 1805, his leadership had guided the fleet into a daring and unconventional assault against the combined French and Spanish navies. The air was thick with smoke and tension, the sea churned with the movements of hundreds of ships locked in combat. Every moment pulsed with the uncertainty of life and death. In the midst of this chaos, a single rifle shot rang out from the French ship Redoutable. A sniper's bullet found its mark, striking Nelson in the shoulder and piercing his spine. The wound was mortal. Despite the agony, Nelson's mind remained clear, focused on the battle and its outcome. Carried below deck, the admiral was attended by his surgeons. His thoughts turned not to his pain but to the future of Britain. And the fate of the fleet he had commanded so brilliantly. His final hours were marked by a calm acceptance of his sacrifice. It is said that his last words expressed certainty and pride that the day was won. The victory belonged to Britain and its sailors, a triumph forged through courage, strategy, and unyielding determination. Nelson's death became a powerful symbol of devotion to duty and country. Memorials and tributes soon followed, immortalizing Nelson's sacrifice in the collective memory of the people. Monuments rose in his honor, ships were named after him, and his story was told in countless forms. He became more than a man, he became an enduring emblem of sacrifice, leadership, and unwavering patriotism. The impact of Nelson's death extended beyond the battlefield. It touched the hearts of ordinary citizens and leaders alike, uniting a nation in grief and gratitude. His loss underscored the harsh realities of war. A victory often demands the highest price. Yet, through his death, Nelson's legacy was cemented. The qualities he embodied, boldness, innovation, and selflessness, set a standard for generations of naval officers to follow. His story reminds us that behind every great victory lies the courage of individuals willing to give everything for a cause greater than themselves. The Battle of Trafalgar and Nelson's sacrifice reshaped the world's balance of power. Britannia's dominance of the seas ensured that the country could protect its empire and influence global affairs for years to come. This triumph marked the beginning of a century in which British naval power was unmatched. Nelson's final moments were filled with a quiet dignity that contrasted with the fierce violence of the battle. His steadfast commitment inspired those around him, his presence a beacon of hope amid the turmoil. Even in death, he remained at the heart of the victory he had so carefully orchestrated. Reflecting on this pivotal event invites us to consider the personal cost behind historic achievements. The glory of victory is often accompanied by loss and sacrifice that shape the course of history in profound ways. The story of Admiral Horatio Nelson's death at Trafalgar is a poignant reminder of the human dimension within great conflicts. It reveals the delicate balance between triumph and tragedy, and the enduring power of leadership in the face of mortal peril. As the seas grew calm after the battle, the memory of Nelson's sacrifice sailed on, carried in the hearts of those who understood what had been given for the safety and future of their nation. This is a tale of bravery and loss intertwined, a testament to the price paid for freedom and the legacy left by a man who became a legend through his final act of devotion to country and duty. A testament to the price paid for freedom, and the legacy left by a man who became a legend through his final act of devotion to country and duty. The Battle of Trafalgar was more than a naval victory. It was a turning point that ended any serious threat of a French invasion of Britain. The combined fleets of France and Spain, once powerful and imposing, lay shattered beneath the waves or scattered in retreat. This moment secured Britain's command of the seas, a dominance that would last not only through the Napoleonic Wars, but for decades beyond. With the enemy fleets broken, Britain's Royal Navy faced little opposition on the oceans. This control of the seas became the foundation of British strength and influence, enabling the island nation to protect far-flung trade routes and safeguard its vast empire. The importance of this dominance cannot be overstated. Britain's economy depended heavily on maritime trade, connecting its ports with markets around the globe. Ships carried goods, raw materials, and wealth across oceans, fueling industries and livelihoods back home. The Navy ensured these vital lifelines remained open and secure. Beyond commerce, naval supremacy allowed Britain to project military power worldwide. Armies could be transported safely to distant colonies or battlefronts, reinforcing positions and expanding influence. Control of the seas gave Britain strategic advantages, enabling rapid response to threats and the ability to isolate enemy territories. The ripple effects of Trafalgar touched every corner of the British Empire. Colonies in Asia, Africa, the Americas, and the Pacific remained protected, their economies linked through the steady flow of goods and resources. The Navia's presence deterred rival powers and suppressed piracy, creating a relatively stable environment for growth and development. This period marked the rise of Britain as the preeminent global maritime power. Its fleet sailed under a banner of authority and confidence, navigating the complex networks of international trade and diplomacy. The security offered by naval dominance fostered innovation, commerce, and cultural exchange across continents. The legacy of Britain's command of the seas extended far beyond military might. It shaped the political and economic landscape of the 19th century, laying the groundwork for what would become the largest empire in history. The freedom to move armies, goods, and influence across the world transformed Britain into a central actor on the global stage. While wars continued on land, the seas remained firmly under British control. This advantage allowed the nation to outlast rivals, support allies, and expand its reach with a certainty unmatched by any other power of the time. In this era, the ocean was not merely a barrier but a highway of opportunity. Britain's naval supremacy turned the tides of history, securing its place as a dominant force in a rapidly changing world. The impact of Trafalgar was immediate and enduring, a testament to the power of the sea and those who mastered it. The Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 was more than a decisive naval victory. It was a turning point that shaped the course of the 19th century. This triumph secured Britannia's control of the seas, a dominance that would define the era and propel the nation into unprecedented global influence. With the enemy fleets shattered and the threat of invasion lifted, Britannia's Royal Navy stood unrivaled. This naval supremacy became the foundation upon which the British Empire expanded across continents and oceans. From the bustling ports of India to the distant shores of Australia, British ships sailed freely, carrying goods, settlers, and soldiers to every corner of the globe. Control of the sea lanes was not simply a matter of military strength. It was the lifeblood of commerce and industry. The vast network of trade routes ensured that raw materials flowed steadily into British factories. Cotton from India and the Americas, timber from Canada, spices from Southeast Asia all arrived under the protection of British naval power. This steady supply of resources fueled the Industrial Revolution, a transformation that changed the world forever. Factories roared to life, producing textiles, machinery, and goods on a scale never seen before. British products flooded global markets, creating wealth and driving economic growth at home and abroad. The Navia's reach also allowed Britain to safeguard these markets. Merchant ships traveled secure in the knowledge that warships patrolled the seas, deterring pirates and rival powers alike. The ability to protect trade routes gave Britain a commercial edge that few could challenge. Beyond economics, Britannia's naval dominance shaped global politics and diplomacy. The presence of the Royal Navy in key regions allowed Britain to influence the affairs of nations far from its shores. Treaties were negotiated with an implicit understanding of Britannia's power at sea, and conflicts were often settled with the threat or use of naval force. This influence extended into the control of strategic ports and colonies. Places like Gibraltar, Malta, Singapore, and Hong Kong became vital nodes in a network that connected the empire. These bases supported the Navia's operations and reinforced Britannia's global presence. The reach of British power brought profound changes to societies around the world. It facilitated cultural exchanges, the spread of ideas, and the movement of people. At the same time, it imposed new political and economic systems that reshaped traditional ways of life. The long-term effects of Trafalgar were evident in the balance of power that characterized the 19th century. Britain emerged as the preeminent global force, its navy the guardian of a vast empire and a bustling trade network. This dominance created a period often referred to as the Pax Britannica, a time of relative peace maintained by British strength on the seas. Yet this era was also marked by challenges and complexities. Britain faced rival powers eager to contest its supremacy and growing calls from colonized peoples seeking greater autonomy. Despite these challenges, the legacy of Trafalgar endured. It was a testament to the power of innovation, strategy, and determination. The battle set in motion a century where Britain shaped global affairs through maritime strength and economic might. Looking back, the impact of Trafalgar can be seen not just in military history, but in the very fabric of the modern world. The rise of global trade, and the spread of industrialization all bear traces of this pivotal moment. The story of Britain's 19th century is inseparable from the sea, from the ships that sailed under the Union Jack, and from the sailors who ensured that Britain's influence reached every horizon. Trafalgar was the spark that ignited this era, a lasting symbol of how naval power can shape history on a global scale. The Battle of Trafalgar stands as a beacon in the story of Britannia's national identity, a moment when courage and resolve were etched into the very fabric of the nation. This naval triumph was more than a military victory. It became a powerful symbol of British pride and determination, celebrated across generations. From the moment the news of the battle's outcome reached the shores of Britain, a wave of admiration swept through the country. Admiral Horatio Nelson, though fallen in battle, was hailed as a heroic figure, whose leadership and sacrifice embodied the spirit of the nation, inspiring poets, artists, and the public alike, whose name became synonymous with bravery and strategic genius, inspiring generations to come. Monuments arose to honor Nelson and the valor of the Royal Navy. Stately statues were erected in prominent places, standing as silent guardians of history and reminders of the price paid for freedom and security. These memorials invited reflection and reverence, drawing visitors to remember a time when Britain stood alone against formidable foes. These memorials invited reflection and reverence, drawing visitors to remember a time when Britain stood alone against formidable foes. These memorials invited reflection and reverence, drawing visitors to remember a time when Britain stood alone against formidable foes. These memorials invited reflection and reverence, drawing visitors to remember a time when Britain stood alone against formidable foes. Literature and art flourished in the wake of Trafalgar, weaving the story of heroism into the cultural consciousness. Paintings captured the drama of the sea battle of the crashing waves, the smoke-filled skies, and the fierce determination of sailors locked in combat. Writers celebrated the victory and the ideals it represented, crafting tales that echoed through classrooms and homes. Each year, Trafalgar Day is observed in the United Kingdom, a tradition that keeps the memory alive. Ceremonies and events mark the date, honoring those who fought, and the enduring legacy they left behind. It is a day not only to recall history but to reaffirm values of courage, resilience, and unity. The battle's influence extended beyond commemoration. It reinforced a collective sense of Britain as a maritime nation, destined to wield influence across the world's oceans. The Navy was seen as the lifeblood of the empire, a symbol of power and protection. Trafalgar underscored the connection between Britain's identity and the sea, a relationship that shaped politics, economy, and society. It offered a source of national confidence during uncertain times and inspired future generations to carry forward the ideals forged in battle. In understanding Trafalgar's place in history, we see how a single event can transcend its moment and become a cornerstone of identity. It is a story of heroism that continues to resonate, reminding us of the enduring strength found in unity and resolve. The legacy of Trafalgar is alive today, woven into the rhythms of British life and the stories told about the nation's past. It invites reflection on what it means to face adversity with courage and to emerge with a spirit unbroken. Through monuments, art, and tradition, the battle remains a testament to the power of history to shape identity. Trafalgar's echo calls out across the centuries, a reminder of a time when Britannia's destiny was forged on the waves and in the hearts of those who dared to command them. The Battle of Trafalgar stands as one of historia's most defining naval engagements, a moment when courage, strategy, and innovation converged to alter the course of nations. Though fought over 2 centuries ago, the lessons it offers continue to resonate deeply in our modern world, reminding us that leadership and resilience remain timeless virtues. At the heart of Trafalgar was Admiral Horatio Nelson, a commander whose boldness defied convention. His decision to break from traditional naval tactics by attacking in 2 columns rather than lining up parallel to the enemy was revolutionary. This willingness to take risks, to embrace new ideas amid uncertainty, transformed the nature of naval warfare and secured a decisive victory for Britain. Nelson's approach teaches us about the power of innovative thinking. In any field, clinging to established methods can limit progress. Trafalgar shows that true leadership often requires daring to chart a new course, challenging norms to achieve extraordinary results. It is a lesson that extends far beyond the deck of a warship into the arenas of business, politics, and technology today. The battle also underscores the importance of resilience. His ability to inspire his crew speaks to the strength of character essential in overcoming adversity. In today's complex and rapidly changing world, resilience is just as vital, enabling individuals and nations to endure setbacks and emerge stronger. Naval power, so crucial in 1805, continues to hold strategic significance. Control of the seas remains a key factor in national security, trade, and global influence. The dominance Britain secured at Trafalgar helped build an empire that shaped world history. Modern nations recognize the value of maritime strength in protecting interests and maintaining stability. Trafalgar also illustrates how pivotal moments in history can have lasting impact. The victory not only ended the threat of Napoleon's navy but set the stage for nearly a century of British maritime supremacy. Such turning points remind us that the decisions made in critical times ripple through generations, shaping the destiny of nations and peoples. Reflecting on Trafalgar invites a broader appreciation of leadership's role in shaping outcomes. Nelson's blend of vision, courage, and care for his men created a legacy that inspires leadership models to this day. It highlights the balance between calculated risk and responsibility that defines effective command. Moreover, the battle emphasizes unity and coordination. Success depended on the cooperation of numerous ships and crews, each playing their part in a complex, synchronized effort. This lesson in teamwork resonates across all areas of human endeavor where collaboration is essential to overcoming challenges. The story of Trafalgar is not just about military might but about human qualities that transcend time. It teaches us about perseverance in the face of danger, the courage to innovate, and the power of shared purpose. These themes remain relevant as societies navigate the uncertainties of the modern era. As we consider the strategic importance of maritime dominance, Trafalgar reminds us of the need for vigilance and preparedness. The seas remain vital arteries of commerce and security. Nations today invest in navies and alliances to ensure peace and stability, echoing the priorities shaped centuries ago. In a world of rapid technological change, the spirit of innovation exemplified by Nelson encourages continuous adaptation. It urges leaders to question assumptions and to embrace creativity as a tool for solving complex problems. This mindset fosters progress and resilience in uncertain environments. Trafalgar's enduring legacy also lies in its demonstration of sacrifice and dedication. The battle cost lives, including that of Nelson himself, whose death became a symbol of selfless leadership. Remembering this sacrifice deepens our understanding of the human cost behind historic achievements. Ultimately, Trafalgar challenges us to learn from history, to recognize how moments of bold decision-making and steadfast resolve can define the future. The echoes of Trafalgar ripple through time, reminding us that leadership is more than authority, it is vision, courage, and the will to act when it matters most. Innovation can disrupt the status quo, opening new paths to success. Resilience sustains us through hardship, enabling triumph over adversity. As we navigate today's complexities, the lessons of Trafalgar serve as a compass, guiding principles that remain as vital now as they were on that decisive day over 200 years ago. The battle teaches that the future belongs to those who dare to lead, to innovate, and to persevere. This story of naval mastery and human spirit invites us to honor the past while forging our own paths with courage and wisdom. Trafalgar is not just a historic event, it is a timeless source of insight into the qualities that shape destiny and define greatness. Thank you for joining this voyage into the Battle of Trafalgar and its lasting impact on world history. This story shows us how courage, strategy, and sacrifice can change the fate of empires. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep exploring the remarkable stories of our past.